A senior Hamas official says the remaining 48 Israeli hostages will be released tomorrow before the 72-hour deadline expires at midday. To this point, the ceasefire does appear to be holding, though there is much we still don't know about how these coming 24 hours will unfold. In Gaza, Hamas is deploying around 7,000 members of its security forces to reassert control over those areas the Israeli troops have left, which of course begs further questions about their readiness to disarm and to relinquish power. Let me show you then some of the pictures from Gaza. We're looking here at the live shot from Khan Yunis in the south of the Strip, where for the past couple of hours we have been seeing aid trucks passing through. We have seen some people carrying food and supplies that they've recently picked up. Plenty of waving and celebrating too. In fact, we've seen children playing in the road this morning. This is Gaza City. Over 300,000 people have returned since Friday, more arriving all the time, despite the fact there's very little to come back to. The city lying in ruins, most of the water wells are out of service, the aid yet to arrive in any meaningful quantities. We have been seeing people trying to clear rubble from the streets, but one Hamas official said yesterday they only have 4 diggers available to help with that. Here's a view of the border at Kerem Shalom. So this is the main crossing point for any of the humanitarian aid heading into Gaza from Israel. There have been some trucks passing through this morning. The deal says 600 aid trucks a day should be allowed through, though we're not seeing anything on that scale just yet. And this is Hostages Square in Tel Aviv, where the crowds have begun to arrive through the morning. They wait patiently. This is where the celebration will be largely focused on Monday, when the remaining hostages are released. As for the diplomacy, well, that will start tomorrow. We know that President Trump will be joining 20 other leaders at a summit in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh to sign the agreement to end the war. They will be working to fill in some of the blanks in this peace plan. Sir Keir Starmer and the French President Emmanuel Macron have both confirmed they will attend. Downing Street said the Prime Minister will be there to pay tribute to Donald Trump's leadership and the diplomatic efforts of Egypt, Qatar and Turkey. Our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher has sent this report from the celebrations last night in Hostages Square in Tel Aviv.
For 2 years, they've come here every Saturday night. Now, Hostage Square vibrated with hope that this would be the final rally. President Trump, clearly the hero, his daughter taking the stage.
And the president wanted me to share, as he has with so many of you personally, that he sees you, he hears you, he stands with you, always.
Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, tried to give the Israeli Prime Minister some credit for the deal.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
They've accused Netanyahu of sabotaging past ceasefire attempts, aren't ready to forgive him.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Mr. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, acknowledging the pain on the other side.
And also to see the suffering end for the people in Gaza, who, for most of them, were experiencing this through no fault of their own, other than being born into a situation that was horrific.
This feels like the climax of what's become a movement to bring them home. And with President Trump's envoy here and his family getting all of the credit for sealing the deal, promising them that they would not only see their loved ones, but also get a lasting peace.
In Gaza, the bombing has stopped. But the Israelis created a wasteland. You can't call it peace, not yet. And into this void has mobilized 7,000 fighters, reasserting control amidst uncertainty about who will govern Gaza now. Hundreds of thousands of Gazans are making the journey home, displaced again and again by the war. It's finally safe to return. Finding, though, that there is nothing to go back to. The scale of destruction is hard to take in. For many, everything is lost.
My house, which I built 40 years ago, was gone in a moment. All my brothers are gone, my nephews too. What's left in the world? Even death is better than the struggle we are in.
This is the best chance for ending the war. But there are so many questions and obstacles, so much to rebuild for a lasting peace. Barbara Plett-Usher, BBC News, Tel Aviv.
Well, as you will have seen in Barbara's report there were boos from the crowd in Tel Aviv when Steve Witkoff mentioned the name of the Israeli Prime Minister. But here's a section of the speech in which he praised the resilience of the hostages and the families.
From the depths of our hearts, we honor the families of the hostages. To the hostages themselves, our brothers and sisters, you are coming home.
Steve Witkoff in Hostages Square last night. Let's bring in Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell, who is in Jerusalem for us. We'll continue to flick through these live pictures, Yolande, as we talk to you. I get the feeling from the scene last night in Hostages Square and in Gaza this morning, there's an uneasy calm at the moment. People are daring to hope, but there's a very delicate timeline yet to unfold.
That's right. Everything feels very fragile. People that I've spoken to in Gaza, some of them have said that they're reluctant to return back to their neighbourhoods in the north of the Gaza Strip. They want to know what will happen in terms of some of the lawlessness that they've seen, what will happen in terms of aid getting in, and will this ceasefire ultimately hold? Still waiting to see what happens with this hostage release. Israeli media are saying that it's expected to take place tomorrow morning. The deadline is for midday local time for Hamas to hand back the remaining hostages. There are 48 in total, 20 of them believed to be alive, and it's been made clear that while the 20 living hostages must be returned, that some of the remains of the deceased hostages won't come back immediately. It's going to take longer to locate them inside Gaza, and there's a whole mechanism that's being set up involving the Red Cross to try to locate those remains, remove them from under any rubble that they may be hidden under, and to carry out DNA tests so that they can be positively identified.
Yeah, it's going to be enormously complex. You talk about the mechanism. Do we have more detail on how this will unfold and how many will be freed and in what order?
So we know that all of the hostages should come back at one time, and there should be no ceremonies of the kind that we saw during the previous ceasefire. At the same time, the hostages are being exchanged for prisoners, about almost 2,000 held in Israeli jails. Most of those will be going back to the Gaza Strip. They've been held without trial and charge during the course of the war. There are also about 250 Palestinians who've been serving sentences inside Israel. They've been convicted in many cases for deadly attacks on Israelis. They will be going back, and what we've heard is that the Israeli Prison Service has already moved some of these prisoners, some to a location in the south of the country near the border with Egypt, close to Gaza, and some to the Offa military prison, which is just inside the occupied West Bank, close to Ramallah. And it's expected that the prisoners from there, we've already seen them being moved in buses. They will be the ones that are released into the West Bank and also into Jerusalem.
Is there an agreed list of names of those Palestinians who will be released, Yolande, or is there still a disagreement between the parties on the list that was provided?
There has now been a list of names that has been circulated, with many of the families being notified that their loved ones are due to be released from jail. But the Israeli military is putting out warnings to people in the West Bank and in Jerusalem that families must not hold any celebrations. That is part of the agreement, this initial phase of President Trump's agreement. There should be no ceremonies, no celebrations on either side. This should all happen in a low-key way, these family reunions.
The Defence Minister, Israel Katz, has been speaking this morning, Yolande. He's instructed the IDF to prepare to demolish all of Hamas's tunnels once the hostages have been released. That obviously is not part of what is on paper in this 20-point plan. Could that cause some tension, do you think?
I think definitely. He said that will be carried out in full partnership and coordination with the US. We know that the Israelis now have about 200 US troops here who are involved in some of the coordination. A sort of center for coordination is being set up with the Americans in Israel to look at what happens in Gaza next. But there is so much to be discussed at this leaders summit that's due to take place in Sharm el-Sheikh tomorrow, presided over by President Trump himself. After he has spoken at the Israeli Knesset, he'll be flying off to Egypt to be there with the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We're expecting Sir Keir Starmer to be there, and the leaders of about 20 different countries looking at what are the next steps, because so much is unclear about exactly even what is in this ceasefire agreement and what happens next. And that will really worry people, the idea that Israel wants to carry out these large detonations inside Gaza, saying it's planning to get rid of the remaining tunnels there. Of course, Israeli forces do control still just over half of the territory in the Gaza Strip. And, you know, we have heard even in recent days sort of like loud explosions with the Israeli military saying that either acting defensively or that they have been attacking Hamas infrastructure.